Hello. Thank you for your continuous support, this means a lot to us. If you enjoy the stories we share, kindly subscribe to this channel. Now, let's dive into the details of today's story. Hi, I'm Sarah. Today going to read you the story of Regina, which is titled like this. My parents demanded I drop out of college for my sister's feelings. I refused. They broke up with me. Then we reconciled, but later they gave me an ultimatum to cancel my wedding because she got divorced and depressed. Well, let's go. So, there I was, Regina, finally done with my third year of college and ready to spend my summer working at the local cafe where I'd been pulling shifts between classes. I had it all planned out. More hours meant more money, and God knows, I needed every dollar I could save. My parents had made it crystal clear years ago that they were only saving college money for my younger sister, Emma. So, I'd busted my ass to get a full scholarship. I was literally counting my tip money from the morning shift when my phone rang. Mom's name flashed on the screen, which was weird because we maybe talked once every few months. Emma was always the golden child. The one who got new clothes while I wore hand-me-downs. The one who got a car for her 16th birthday while I took the bus. The one whose room got redecorated while mine stayed the same ugly green for years. Regina, honey, we need you to come home for the summer. Mom said without even asking how I was doing. Can't, Mom. I've got work lined up for the whole summer. I need the money. This is important. We really need you here. That got my attention. My parents never needed me for anything. Emma was their perfect little princess who could do no wrong, even though she barely scraped by in high school while I was pulling straight A's and volunteering for every school activity just to pad my college applications. What's going on? Is someone sick? We'll explain everything when you get here. Please, Regina, just come home. There was something in her voice that made me curious, maybe even a little hopeful that they actually wanted to see me for once. So, I did something stupid. I agreed to come. The train ride from my college state back home gave me too much time to think. I remembered Emma's graduation party last month that I wasn't invited to, even though I'd asked Mom if they wanted me there. Oh, it's just going to be a small family thing, she'd said. Right. Small family thing without one of their daughters. I thought about all the times growing up when Emma would break something and somehow it became my fault. Like when she knocked over Mom's favorite vase and told them I did it. Got grounded for 2 weeks while Emma got ice cream. Or when she failed her driving test 3 times and Dad said it was because I setting a bad example by not having car to practice with her. The worst was probably my high school graduation. Emma had some stupid dance recital the same day. And guess which event my parents attended? I sat there watching other families celebrate while mine was across town watching Emma spin around in a tutu. They said they'd make it up to me, but they never did. But something about this phone call felt different. Maybe they finally realized they had another daughter. Maybe Emma had done something so stupid that they needed the responsible one to come fix it. Or maybe, and this was the thought I tried not to have, maybe one of them really was sick and they needed me. When I stepped off the train, summer heat hit me like a wall. The walk to my childhood home felt longer than I remembered. Nothing had changed on our street. Same ugly houses, same cracked sidewalks, same general air of disappointment that seemed to hang over everything. I knocked on the front door, which was weird because I used to just walk in. But it had been almost a year since I'd been home, and I wasn't sure of my welcome. Dad opened the door and actually smiled at me. I stepped inside and immediately felt the tension. It was like walking into a funeral home. Emma was sitting on the couch looking like someone had killed her dog. And Mom was pacing around the living room with that worried expression she usually reserved for when Emma got in trouble. So, what's the big emergency? I asked, setting my bag down. Mom and Dad exchanged one of those looks that parents do when they're about to deliver bad news. We'll talk about it over dinner, Dad said. Are you hungry? Your mother made your favorite. That should have been my first red flag. Mom never made my favorite anything. Emma's favorites, sure, but not mine. But I was tired and hungry, maybe a little hopeful that this meant something good. We sat around the dinner table like a normal family for once. Emma barely touched her food and kept sniffling like she was about to cry. The whole thing felt like some weird performance, and I was the only one who didn't know script. Okay, I said. Finally, someone needs to tell me what's going on before I lose my mind. Mom put down her fork and looked at Dad, who nodded like they'd rehearsed this whole thing. Emma just stared at her plate, but I could see her shoulders shaking. Well, Mom started. You know, Emma just graduated high school. Yeah, congratulations, I said to Emma, but she didn't even look up. The thing is, Dad continued, she's been having some trouble with her college applications. I waited for more, but they both just sat there looking uncomfortable. Emma let out this dramatic sigh that could probably be heard from space. What kind of trouble? I asked. She didn't get into the private college she wanted, Mom said quickly, like ripping off a band-aid. Emma's face turned bright red, and she finally looked up. It's not that I didn't get in, she snapped. It's that they have stupid requirements that don't make sense. I tried not to laugh. Emma had barely graduated high school. I remembered Mom calling me freshman year, stressed out because Emma was failing 3 classes and might not graduate on time. They'd hired tutors, done extra credit projects, and I'm pretty sure Dad had a few conversations with teachers that got Emma's grades mysteriously bumped up. Okay, I said carefully, so maybe she could apply to a different college. There are plenty of good schools that aren't as competitive. Emma's head snapped up like I'd slapped her. I don't want to go some nobody college like you did. I want to go somewhere that actually matters. There it was. The real Emma, not the crying victim act she'd been putting on. My college was actually pretty well regarded, but whatever. I'd gotten used to her insults years ago. How does this involve me? I asked. I mean, I'm sorry Emma's having trouble, but I don't see why you needed me to come home for this. Mom and Dad exchanged another look. This time, it was Mom who took the lead. Emma's been really depressed about this whole situation. She said she's been having these episodes where she just cries for hours. The doctor says it's because she feels like she's falling behind compared to you. Compared to me, you're in college and she's not, Dad explained. It's making her feel like a failure. I looked around the table at all of them. Emma was back to her dramatic sniffling. Mom looked like she was about to cry, too. And Dad just looked tired. I still don't understand what this has to do with me, I said. That's when Mom dropped the bomb. We think it would be best if you took a break from college for a while. Just until Emma gets settled somewhere. I honestly thought I'd misheard her. I'm sorry. What? Just for a year or two? Dad added quickly. Give Emma some time to figure things out without feeling like she's competing with you. I stared at them, waiting for someone to start laughing and tell me this was all some sick joke. But they were all completely serious. Emma was nodding along like this made perfect sense. Are you people insane? I finally asked. Regina, don't be dramatic, Dad said. I'm being dramatic. You just asked me to throw away my education because Emma's feelings are hurt. It's not throwing it away, Mom insisted. It's just postponing it. I'm on a full scholarship, I said slowly, like was talking to children. If I leave, lose that scholarship. I can't just come back whenever I feel like it. We know it's a big sacrifice, Dad said. A sacrifice? It's not a sacrifice. Suicide. Do you have any idea how hard I worked to get where I am? The hours spent studying while Emma was out partying. The clubs I joined, the volunteer work I did, the essays wrote. Emma finally spoke up. You always act like you're so much better than everyone else. I act like someone who works hard for what they want instead of expecting it to be handed me. You told me when I was 16 that you weren't paying for my college. You said all your college savings were for Emma. So, I busted my ass to get a full ride. I worked part-time jobs through high school to save money. I studied every night while Emma was out with her friends. And now you want me to give it all up because she's sad? She's your sister, Dad said. And I'm your daughter, too. But you seem to forget that pretty regularly. The room went dead silent. Emma's crying got louder, but now it sounded more angry than sad. This is exactly what I'm talking about, she said. You always have to make everything about you. I'm going through a hard time and you can't even be supportive. Supportive? You want me to ruin my life to make you feel better about yours? It's not ruining your life, Mom said. It's being part of a family. A family? I laughed, but there was nothing funny about it. When have any of you ever acted like a family to me? When have you ever put my needs first? When have you ever even asked what I wanted? We're asking now, Dad said. No, you're not. You're telling me what you want to do. There's a difference. I stood up from the table. The whole room felt like it was spinning. I need to think about this. I said, there's nothing to think about. Mom said, either you care about your family or you don't. And if I don't do what you want? Dad's face got hard. Then maybe you should think about whether you want to be part of this family at all. There it was. The ultimatum I'd been waiting for my whole life. Do what Emma wants or lose the family I'd never really had anyway. I've thought about it, I said, and my answer is no. I'm not dropping out of college. Emma burst into fresh tears. Mom looked like I'd punched her. Dad just shook his head. Then I think you should leave, he said quietly. Fine, I said. Will. Went upstairs to pack my things, listening Emma sobbing downstairs and my parents comforting her. Just like always, I was the bad guy for not giving Emma what she wanted. As I threw my clothes into bag, I thought about all the times this had happened before, just in smaller ways. Emma wanted my birthday party canceled because she had the flu. Emma wanted my room because it was bigger. Emma wanted me to give her my car money because she crashed hers. And every single time, my parents had expected me to be the bigger person, to sacrifice for Emma, to put her feelings first. I walked out of that house with my bag over my shoulder and didn't look back. The train station was a 20-minute walk, and every step felt like I was shedding some invisible weight I'd been carrying my whole life. My phone kept buzzing with texts from Mom, but I didn't bother reading them. Whatever guilt trip she was sending could wait. The ride back to campus was quiet. I stared out the window, watching familiar towns blur past, trying not to think about what had just happened. When I got back to my dorm, I threw myself into work. Picked up extra shifts at the cafe, covered for other people when they wanted time off, and worked doubles whenever I could. The summer passed in a blur of work and silence. No calls from my parents, no texts asking how I was doing, nothing. It was like I'd never existed. I threw myself into my senior year like life depended on it. I took extra classes, joined more clubs, did everything I could to graduate early. Graduation came and went without a single family member in the audience. I got a job offer in city 2 states away and took it without hesitation. Moving into my first apartment was weird, but good weird. For the first time in my life, nobody could tell me what to do with my space. Work kept me busy and I was good at it. Good enough that I got promoted within 6 months. Then again, a year later, I was making more money than I'd ever thought possible. I started dating a guy named Mike I met at work. He was in the marketing department. Tall with dark hair and this laugh that made everyone around him smile. So tell me about your family, he said one night over dinner at this little Italian place near my apartment. Not much to tell, I said. We're not really close. That's too bad. Family's important. I just nodded and changed the subject. Mike didn't push, which I appreciated. 2 years passed like that. Work, dating, Mike, building a life that was completely my own. I found out through social media that Emma had gotten married. The wedding photos showed up in my suggested posts. Emma, a huge white dress surrounded by all our relatives with mom and dad beaming beside her. I blocked Emma's social media after that. I didn't need the reminder. Then one Tuesday afternoon, my phone rang. The caller ID showed mom's number, and for a second, I just stared at it. It had been almost 5 years since we'd spoken. Regina. Mom's voice sounded older, more tired. Yeah, it's me. Oh, honey, I'm so glad you answered. How are you? The question caught me off guard. When was the last time anyone in my family had asked how I was? I'm fine. What do you want? I know you're probably still angry with us, and you have every right to be. We were wrong, Regina. Really wrong. I didn't say anything. Your father and I have been talking. We realize we went too far. We shouldn't have asked you to give up college. We shouldn't have kicked you out. Where's this coming from? I asked. Emma moved across the country with her husband. We hardly see her anymore. And it made us realize that we might lose you completely, too. Can you come home just for a visit? Let us try to make things right. I thought about hanging up, but something in her voice made me pause. I'll think about it, I said finally. A month later, I was on a train heading home. When I got to my childhood home, Mom hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. You look so grown up, she said, tears in her eyes. And successful. We're so proud of you. Dad looked older, grayer around the edges. We owe you an apology, he said. A big one. Over dinner, they told me about Emma's life. She'd had 2 kids and was living in California with her husband who worked in tech. She's doing well, Mom said. Her husband makes good money. That's nice, I said. Not really caring. What about you? Dad asked. Are you seeing anyone? I told them about Mike, about my job, the apartment I was renting. They actually listened, asked questions, seemed genuinely interested. It was weird. We'd love to meet him sometime, Mom said. I started visiting regularly after that, sometimes alone, sometimes with Mike. My parents seemed different, more attentive to me. They asked about my work, remembered things I told them, actually acted like they cared about my life. The first time I saw Emma again was at my parents' house about a year later. She was visiting with her husband, David, and their 2 kids. Emma looked tired but happy and she was showing off pictures of their house in California. David just got another promotion, she told everyone. We're thinking about getting a bigger house. That's great, I said politely. Emma barely acknowledged me beyond basic pleasantries, but at least she wasn't openly hostile. Her husband seemed nice enough, though he spent most of the visit on his phone talking about work. You should come visit us in California, Emma said as they were leaving. We have plenty of room. Maybe, I said, knowing I'd never take her up on it. Things stayed peaceful like that for about 2 years. I kept visiting my parents. They came to see me and Mike a few times, and we all pretended the past had never happened. Mike and I had been together for about 2.5 years when we decided to get married. Really? Mom said when I called to tell her. Oh, Regina, that's wonderful. We're thinking a small ceremony. Nothing too fancy. Whatever makes you happy, sweetheart. We're just so excited for you. Mike and I started planning the wedding. We found a venue, picked a date, sent out invitations. Everything was going smoothly until my phone rang one evening while I was addressing invitations. Regina, I need you to come home, Mom said without even saying hello. There's been a situation with Emma. What kind of situation? Just come home tonight if you can. It's urgent. The tone in her voice made my stomach drop. After all these years of peace, I had a feeling my family was about to drag me back into their drama. I'll be there tomorrow morning, I said, already dreading whatever mess was waiting for me. The train ride home felt like traveling back in time to a place I'd hoped never visit again. Mike had offered to come with me, but I told him to stay and keep working on the wedding plans. Something in Mom's voice told me this was going to be bad, and I didn't want him to see whatever mess my family had created. Now, when I walked into my parents' house, the atmosphere was exactly like it had been 5 years ago, heavy, depressing, full of drama. Emma was sitting on the couch with red, puffy eyes, and her 2 kids were playing quietly in the corner. She looked like she'd been crying for days. "What's going on?" I asked, setting my purse down. Emma looked up at me with this wounded expression. "David left me. Says the kids aren't his." I sat down slowly, trying to process this information. "What do you mean the kids aren't his?" Emma started crying harder. "He did DNA tests behind my back. He said he'd been suspicious for a while because they don't look like him and they're not his kids." Emma shook her head, not looking at me. "So, you cheated on him?" "It's not that simple," Emma snapped. "David was always working, always traveling. I was lonely." "With how many people, Regina, don't?" Mom said sharply. But I was getting the picture. Emma had been sleeping around, got pregnant, and David had been raising kids that weren't his for years. Now, he'd found out and was done. The divorce was finalized last week. Dad said Emma didn't get anything. No alimony, no child support, nothing. David kept the house, the cars, everything. "I don't have anywhere to go," Emma said through her tears. "I don't have any money. Don't have a job." I looked around the room at all of them. "Okay, so what does this have to do with me?" Mom and Dad exchanged that look again. The same they'd given each other 5 years ago before they asked me to drop out of college. "Emma's going through a really hard time right now," Mom said carefully. "She's depressed. She's struggling and she needs our support. The thing is, we think it would be better if you postponed your wedding for a while." There it was. The same old song, different verse. Postponed my wedding? Why would I do that? "Emma's dealing with a divorce." Mom explained. "She's in a really bad place emotionally. Having to watch you get married right now would just make her feel worse about her own failed marriage." I stared at them in disbelief. "You want me to postpone my wedding because Emma's upset about her divorce?" "Just for a few months," Dad said quickly, "until she gets back on her feet." "Or maybe cancel it altogether," Mom added. "At least until Emma is feeling better about herself." Emma was nodding along like this made perfect sense. "I just can't handle seeing other people happy right now when my whole life is falling apart." "Your life is falling apart because you cheated on your husband," I said flatly. "That's not fair," Emma protested. "You don't understand what I was going through. I understand that you made choices and now you have to live with the consequences." "See," Emma said to our parents, "she doesn't care about me at all. She just wants to rub her perfect life in my face." I stood up from the couch. The whole scene was giving me the worst kind of déjà vu. "Let me get this straight," I said. 8 years ago, you wanted me to drop out of college because Emma couldn't get into the school she wanted. Now you want me to cancel my wedding because Emma's marriage fell apart due to her own actions." "We're not asking you to cancel it," Mom said. "Just postpone it." "For how long?" "Until Emma finds another husband. Until her kids graduate, until she decides she's happy enough to let me have something good in my life." "You're being dramatic." Dad said, "I'm being honest. This is the same thing you did before. Emma has a problem, so everyone else has to sacrifice make her feel better." Emma was crying louder now. "I can't believe how selfish you're being. I'm going through the worst time of my life. And all you can think about is your stupid wedding. My wedding to the man I love that I've been planning for months that all our friends and his family are flying in for. Then they'll understand if you reschedule," Mom said. "No," I said simply, "I'm not postponing my wedding. I'm not canceling my wedding. I'm getting married next month exactly as planned." "But Emma's your sister," Mom pleaded. "And I'm your daughter, but you never seem to remember that when it matters." Dad's face got hard the same way it had 5 years ago. "If you go through with this wedding, don't expect us to be there. Good, I said. Don't want you there anyway. Emma gasped like I'd slapped her. Mom looked shocked. I don't want any of you there, I continued. I don't want people at my wedding who think I should sacrifice my happiness for someone else's bad decisions. Regina, think about what you're saying. Mom said, I have thought about it for years, and I'm done. Done putting Emma's feelings before my own life. I'm done being the responsible one who has to give up everything. I'm done being part of a family that only wants me around when they need something from me. I picked up my purse and headed for the door. I slammed the door behind me and walked to the train station without looking back. Mike was waiting for me at my apartment when I got home. Told him everything about Emma's cheating, the divorce, and my parents' request to postpone our wedding. They're insane, Mike said when I finished. Completely insane. I told them not to come to the wedding. Good. We don't need that kind of negativity on our special day. Our wedding was beautiful. Mike's parents were there, his siblings, grandparents. My uncle walked me down the aisle. He was the only family member who'd ever really cared about me anyway. Some of my cousins came too, the ones who'd always thought my parents treated me unfairly. A few people asked where my parents and sister were, but I just said they couldn't make it due to family issues. Most people didn't push for details. The day after the wedding, I posted a few photos on social media. Just normal wedding pictures, me and Mike, the ceremony, reception, nothing over the top or showy. The next morning, I woke up to comments on my wedding photos. Mom had written a long, nasty comment about how I was flaunting my happiness to hurt Emma, how selfish I was. Emma's depression had gotten worse because of my attention-seeking behavior. Then she started threatening to sue me for emotional damage to Emma. I read through all her comments while Mike made coffee. Other people had started responding asking what was going on, but I didn't engage. Instead, I blocked my mother on all social media. Then I blocked Emma and Dad, too. I deleted all their comments from my wedding photos. That was a year ago. I have no idea how my parents or Emma are doing, and I don't care to find out. Mike and I are looking at houses now, planning to start our own family someday. We want kids who will grow up knowing they're equally loved and valued. Sometimes I wonder if my parents ever think about me, if they ever regret choosing Emma over me so many times, but mostly I don't think about them at all.